Hey guys, David Franklin here with the famous Tim Smith. Tim is has been Mr. Sunday School small groups for years and years and years. That's what you've given your life to. And Tim, you're working in the whole Northwest section for Georgia's Baptist Mission Board. And you and I have been talking. And so the question is, what trends are we seeing? I know them for Bartow County, but you know them here and across the state.
Yeah, it is interesting days that we're having as churches and as individuals begin to come back. Basically, what we're seeing is it's really dependent upon the community of what's happening, whether it be in-person worship plus in-person on-campus groups, Sunday school classes, life groups, connection groups, whatever you call them. That's happening. We're seeing churches come back with groups for all ages, and so that's happening. But what is interesting in that, and the study came out this week, when we go back and we look at when COVID first hit, and everybody was so pumped about the thousands of people that were, and they were talking about, the numbers were 80 to 85 to 88% of the churches in America were growing. Well, this week the numbers came out, and that's not happening. Only 18% of the churches in America, whether it be in person or online, only 18% of the churches in America are actually growing in attendance, whether it be online or in person. So
people coming back to worship, 50%, 60%?
Yeah, it depends on the community. I was this morning working with some churches, and they were looking at about 30% of their regular attendance coming
back to small groups is even less, isn't it?
Again, depending upon the community size of church, but even if you come back and you only have 50% of your average attendance in your groups in your Sunday school classes, right now that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the space.
We don't have the space. So Tim, it kind of gives us a hit attendance. The people that are coming back, what do we know about those folks?
Yeah, the folks that are coming back, they are connected, personally connected. That church, that Sunday school class, that group has done something to personally connect with them. Not an email, not a text, not a recorded message or lesson, not an online experience, but some type of personal touch where Fred knew that it was Lucy that was calling him, that Lucy knew that it was Geraldine that showed up at her house. Some type of personal connection. And if a church has failed to make those personal connections during this pandemic, if they have failed to make those personal connections, that class has failed to make those personal connections, those people are not coming back.
So right now, if you hadn't started small groups, you better get your folks to be connecting with those people. I know something that's changed in our lifetime. You and I used to both do groups in the churches and stuff like that, and we would have, I know I had 94% of worship in small groups, which nowadays that would be historic. So we've got a lot of work to do because we've got a lot of people that kind of are floating.
Yeah, if they're not in a group, if they're not in a Sunday school class, small group, whatever term you want to use, if they're not in a group, in a small group, they're not going to be connected to your church in the not too distant future.
So we've got to really work on connectivity.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I actually think, you and I, this is old school, man. I mean, this is going back old school.
Yeah. It's the old personal touch, the phone calls, yeah.
Because relationships matter.
Oh, and they still matter, and they will always matter.
They will always matter. Tim, one other thing that you and I talked about, maybe take a deep breath.
You want me to say it here?
Say it here.
Yeah. Basically, here it is. And you may not want to hear it.
Yeah, you don't, but it's reality.
People have learned that they can live without your church. I mean, they're not physically dying because they hadn't been at church. They're not physically dying because they hadn't been in Sunday school. And so in their mind, they've learned that they can live without church and without their Sunday school class, without their group, they've learned
Without
that
the
they
preaching.
Yeah, they can live without your preaching. And that is the truth. They can live, they can breathe, they can still exist without the church. And but the flip side of that is that the church can't live without them because we're the church.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've got to do our part to assimilate them, to bring them in, to make them part of the family. And again, that happens through that personal touch, relationships.
Somebody should have told a story, Tim, about, if a man had like 100 sheep and realized that one of them was missing, that he went out. Guys, just look, that's not for this discussion, that's for another one.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we're working on some things to say, how can you go out and maybe reclaim some folks that have fallen away? But Tim, back to that middle one of the three things we've talked about. Relationships matter. And so right now, one of the things that we can be doing to help really be a blessing is to be contacting people personally with phone calls, drop-by visits.
Yeah.
You can stay social distance and drop by visit.
Have your Sunday school class meet together in the parking lot, do the social distance, face mask, all that, but do something to get people together to connect with each other.
Yeah. Because we're zoomed out. I'm hearing that Zoom classes are dropping.
Well, it's because they're doing that Monday through Friday in work, and they don't want their church life, their Sunday school class, to be that as well. They're doing it with their kids at school, and so the personal has got to come back.
And I think we've got to ask questions that say, okay, what's been your toughest struggle during this time? What are you wrestling with now? I mean, because I hear it. It doesn't matter whether you're the school superintendent for Bartow County, you're the pastor of a church, but my mother is having a hard time in in a assisted living. Everybody's struggling right now, and who we touch while they're struggling is a huge thing, because that's a relational connection. Guys, we're gonna go do some stuff on how do we go about touching people down the road and stuff like that. We've never been through this before. Tim, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I'll do this for you, but thank you, and we'll keep working on this. And guys, hopefully this was beneficial, and you'll see us again, because we're trying our best to figure out how do you help the body of Christ during this time. So you pray, and then we'll keep giving little snippets like this. Thanks, Tim.